The image of a rock star vanishing without a trace. A boarding flight scheduled, a hotel checkout, bank withdrawals, a toll receipt at a known bridge, and then nothing. For decades, one name has haunted fans, police files, and the missing persons community: Richey Edwards. In this video, we delve into the mystery of a man whose outward world appeared successful, but whose inner world may have been unraveling. And we ask, how did the illusion of normalcy mask deeper fractures? Who was he? Richard James Richey Edwards was born 27th of December 1967 in Blackwood, Caerphilly, Wales. He became lyricist and rhythm guitarist for the Welsh rock band Manic Street Preachers. Although he rarely recorded guitar parts, his presence was more as poet, philosopher, and provocateur. He was known for dark, literate lyrics, self-harm episodes, notably carving 4 real into his arm in 1991, and a blend of vulnerability and bravado that connected with a generation. On stage, Edwards cut a striking figure: glamorous, aloof, intensely self-aware. But behind the image lay insomnia, alcohol use, and a fragile sense of self. The contrast between his public persona and private turmoil would become central to what followed, an illusion of control covering deep distress. In the period leading to 1st February 1995, Edwards's behavior shows signs of withdrawal and planning. He withdrew about 200 pounds a day for 2 weeks, amounting to around 2,800 pounds prior to his disappearance. He had indicated to his mother that he did not want to fly to the United States for a promotional tour with the band. In the final hours, he checked out of the Embassy Hotel in Bayswater Road, London, at about 7 a.m. on 1st February, leaving toiletries, a packed suitcase, and some of his fluoxetine, an antidepressant, behind. That same morning, he drove to his flat in Cardiff and left his passport and certain items there. Just days later, his Vauxhall Cavalier was found abandoned near the Severn View service station, on the English side of the Severn Bridge, a site already known for suicides. This series of actions, withdrawals of cash, leaving behind items, travel across a bridge site, all point not only to disappearance, but to the possibility of premeditation and ambivalence about being found. But the key question remains: why? To understand the disappearance, we must peer into the mindset of a man who outwardly seemed to have achieved his ambition, yet inwardly felt failure and isolation. Edwards's own words record that, "Up to the age of 13, I was ecstatically happy. Then I moved from my nans and everything started going wrong." He described the world of rock as dead, feeling that he had to bring back real rock and roll. The self-harm episode in 1991, the 4 reel cut, was a dramatic statement. It can be interpreted as a performance, but also as a cry of authenticity mixed with pain. Edwards was both very visible and deeply hidden. Mental health issues, including insomnia and reliance on alcohol, were flagged. More recent commentary suggests that Edwards may have had undiagnosed autistic spectrum traits, Asperger's syndrome, which, the authors argue, could explain his intense sensitivity, his difficulty in coping with the band's success, and his desire to withdraw. A man who created art about alienation, whose life mirrored that alienation, and who arguably lost his internal anchor in the face of external achievement. The illusion of normalcy, rock success, creative acclaim, camaraderie, masked the internal instability. Such a gap between outer and inner life is precisely a risk factor for crisis. For all we know, appearances of success do not guarantee stability. Monitoring mental health, ensuring genuine support, not just image control, and recognizing when someone's outward life is compensating for inner despair, all matter. On the 1st February 1995, Edwards vanished. According to police and his bandmates, he checked out of the London hotel, drove to Cardiff, and his car was found 2 weeks later on the 14th February at Severn View service station. A parking ticket was logged, the battery was dead, and photographs belonging to Edwards were inside. The route via the Severn Bridge sort of symbolizes a turning point, the crossing from England into Wales, physically and metaphorically a threshold. Investigators noted the car was lived in, suggesting he may have spent time there. Police listed Edwards as a missing person. Notably, his family say the investigation encountered issues. There were 3 separate police forces involved: London, Cardiff, Gloucestershire, and no concerted helicopter or river searches, despite his high-risk profile. In November 2008, after 13 years missing, Edwards was legally declared presumed dead, effective 24 November 2008. But legally presumed dead is not the same as confirmed death. There remains no body, no definitive proof. The family emphasized that point. This legal status allowed his estate to be resolved and royalties to continue being paid. But emotionally, it provided no closure for those who knew and admired him. His sister later campaigned to simplify the law around presumption of death for missing persons. As we examine motive and deception, we must distinguish between internal motive, why someone disappears, and external deception. Did someone intentionally mislead others? In Edwards's case, it appears more an act of disappearance than a deception of others. But one cannot entirely rule out the possibility he intended to vanish. He left a gift box addressed to his former girlfriend Jo, wrapped like a birthday present, and decorated with collages, literary quotes, and a note, "I love you." That kind of farewell gesture could imply that he was planning departure, rather than a sudden impulse. Meanwhile, the toll booth receipt for the Severn Bridge had previously been interpreted as 2:55 p.m. on the 1st February, but later found to be 2:55 a.m., altering the timeline of crossing. There are also sightings in Goa, India, in the Canary Islands, in Newport by a taxi driver. None have been confirmed. Some claim he staged his own disappearance to escape the pressures of fame. But the most responsible analytical stance is this: we cannot confirm staging. We cannot confirm suicide. We cannot confirm accidental death. The absence of a body leaves all possibilities open, and thus his disappearance remains ambiguous. For prevention, this ambiguity is important. It shows how unresolved cases inflict long-term harm on families, fans, and investigators alike. The disappearance of Richey Edwards triggered both cultural fascination and meaningful change. His sister, Rachel, has become an advocate in the missing persons field. In 2023, she spoke at an international conference on missing children and adults about the need for better systems for unidentified remains. The law in the UK on presumption of death was made more streamlined in part because of the Edwards case. For the band, the remaining 3 members carried on. But the impact of Edwards' absence remained formative. Fans still wonder what if, and the case has become as much about mental health awareness as rock history. 3 lessons stand out. First, mental health support must be seen as ongoing, especially for high-pressure creative professions. The gap between outer success and inner crisis is precisely the point where risk escalates. Second, disappearance protocols must treat missing persons with vulnerability seriously, not as absent by choice. The early decision-making matters. Third, families and communities must be equipped to live with ambiguity. Unresolved loss is traumatic and requires long-term support, both emotional and legal. The case of Edwards also reminds us that we cannot glorify disappearance. We must humanize the person behind the myth. While fans may mythologize a lost rock genius, the human story is one of suffering, decision points, and the pain of those left behind. In a media era of sensational true crime and disappearance stories, the Edwards case offers a template for responsible storytelling. This is not a horror spectacle. It is an educational investigation into the interplay of persona, pressure, mental health, investigation, and resolution, or lack thereof. It also reminds us that resolution isn't always tidy. The no-body scenario forces us to live with uncertainty, and a society that overlooks that uncertainty leaves families isolated. So when you hear this story, ask, what safeguards exist when someone withdraws? How do we make sure someone leaving the public eye isn't simply fading into oblivion without support? For decades, the silhouette of Richey Edwards has hovered between myth and memory, an artist whose disappearance became as haunting as the music he helped create. The facts are fragments: a hotel checkout, a car abandoned, a toll receipt, cash withdrawn, a gift box. Each fragment points to intention, but none confirm closure. The illusion of normalcy, fame, success, creative output, covered deeper wounds. The investigation stumbled, the family waited, the public speculated. Still, no definitive answer arrived. What remains clear is this: missing persons cases matter. The absence of proof does not mean absence of responsibility. And the gap between outer success and inner crisis is a space we should fill, with awareness, compassion, and systems that intervene before silence becomes disappearance. If you've found this account thought-provoking, take a moment to reflect. Who among us hides pain behind the mask of achievement? Who might be silently planning to withdraw rather than reach out? And what can we, as a community, do to support someone before the vanishing point is crossed? Let this story serve not just as a mystery, but as a teaching moment. Because the real prevention work happens when we shift from myth to meaning, and from fascination to action. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to explore more cases with this blend of investigation, empathy, and prevention focus, please like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. And above all, stay vigilant, stay compassionate, and together, let's bring missing persons back into the light.